close it up then.
More hay bales for me.
It is 6 o'clock. All righty. So he says the mic is on. You guys hear me? All right, very good. Thank you for coming out on a wet evening. I'm going to get my eyeballs. So we have a special guest tonight to gavel us in. That's Eliana Rayo. She is the daughter of Chance and Leah Allison, sitting up front there. Everybody remembers Chance. She goes to Shawnee Middle School, 8th grade, and there'll be more on that in a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to her. So there we go.
I call this meeting to order.
Very cool. Give you down here. I might as well just, well, no, no. Come and help us hold that up so some good pictures there. There we go. Thank you so much for helping. We'll be back up here in a minute. Alrighty. So let's take roll call.
Matthews?
Here.
Ingalls? Here. Flood?
Here.
Bolt?
Here.
Rutherford?
Here.
Seahorn?
Here.
Salter?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All righty, very good. Are you going to do invocation for us? All right.
Very peaceful. Father God, we thank you for today, God, and we thank you for the rain and how much it means to so many parts of our state, God, as it was so dry and the fires that were being put out as we speak, God. Thank you for just the ability to be here. God, thank you for the amazing young men and women that are here representing their city in so many ways, God, from the athletic teams to the academic just excellence that we have going on here. We're so thankful for just the amazing group of young people that represent the next generation of Shawnee citizens. God, thank you again for each and every staff member that gives their heart and soul to what it is running the city of Shawnee. And thank you for the men and women that serve on this board. God, help us to make the best decisions. And may those all be in your will. It's through your son's name we pray. Amen.
All right. Flag salute. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got a couple special events tonight to recognize some very significant accomplishments here by folks in Shawnee. So number one is presentation of certificate of recognition of the Shawnee High School swim team state championship win. So Coach Valerie Colburn and team, come on down. We want everybody in here. Everybody. Gotta remember to take that back with me. So, as I said, very significant accomplishment. Our ladies swim team at the high school are 5A state champions. So against all comers, team from Shawnee comes out on top. And, you know, I like to say that Shawnee go toe to toe with anybody. And rookies have definitely proven that. So thank you very much. Congratulations on your accomplishment. I mean, that's just amazing, absolutely amazing. And we have these for every one of you, so that everybody can see. It's a certificate of recognition on their win. So definitely something that we are proud of here at Shawnee. So
Thank you, sir.
every one of you get to go home with one
Thank
of
you.
those. We're so glad you could come tonight. You bet, thank you. Probably some that weren't able to make it, is that right?
Just one, yes, I'll
Okay, and tell you what, I'll just give you that, 'cause
Okay,
there you go.
okay, thank you.
So
Thank you
much,
so
congratulations. Yes.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Here we go. You want to say anything, any coaches? Sorry?
I'm just very proud of the girls. This group is a small group, but they're a mighty group.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna just stay up here for the next one. Item 2 is presentation certificate of recognition of the 2022 If I Were Mayor essay, second place winner. Eliana, why don't you come on up? Eliana Red. So I want you guys to hear what this young lady did. There was a If I Were Mayor essay contest for 8th graders statewide in Oklahoma that Oklahoma Municipal League and the Congress of Mayors put on. There were over 800 entrants statewide. And this young lady finished second, which is just absolutely amazing. So again, Shawnee can go toe-to-toe with anybody, any place, anytime. And we have a very similar type certificate here for Eliana and her accomplishment. And that's why it was no accident that we had her gavel in the meeting tonight, because, you know, the theme was If I Were Mayor. Well, we wanted her to actually sit down and be mayor there for a minute. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you guys get, run off, get pictures? Do you guys want up here? I'll be glad to take a photo of the three of you together, or whatever you want to do. I mean, you gotta celebrate moments like this. You want it up and down or side to side?
Whatever you think's best. I'm
All
gonna,
right.
I think, you know how to use it better than I do.
There we go.
Thanks.
All right, congratulations. That's where we're up to. Okay, very good. All righty. Item 3 is citizens participation. So that'll be the way we always do this, 3 minutes per person, 12 minutes per topic. Our city attorney will be our timekeeper. We will not respond to you. It's not intended to be a back and forth conversation. If you stick around to the end, you may hear something in commissioners' comments. I've got a pretty good list tonight. That's good. I like seeing that. So first up is Mr. Gary Dowdy. How are you doing, Gary?
Fine, thank you. I am Gary Dowdy. And first of all, I want to thank you for what you do. I think you do a great job. However, we're putting sidewalks in Shawnee. And I was involved on Independence for the Wesley United Methodist Church area. We had a couple of questions when they came by to get permission. First was the marking where they went right underneath our electronic sign, and we were afraid it was going to interfere, but they assured us quickly that was not the case. The second question I had was the distance between the road and the sidewalk. As we go through Shawnee, typically we have from 1 to 10 feet from the roadway to the sidewalk, which allows for some safety for those people walking on the sidewalk. Also for those people driving on the highway. Independence is a pretty busy road for both. I thought I was assured that there would be a space between the road and the sidewalk. But as you go down Independence today, you will notice much of the area butts up against the curb, which is fine downtown where there's parking there. But when you've got traffic that travels over the speed limit, and people that aren't paying attention, it's a danger. We're not asking for any relief. I see on the agenda, we're looking at MacArthur. I want to be sure when we go forward that we do have a safety net between the roadway and the sidewalk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Rob Morris. Mr. Morris, the microphone's all yours.
Couple of things tonight. County commissioners for Pot County just voted today unanimously to remove public comments from their agendas from here on out. So I'd like a verbal from this commission that y'all won't silence the public to be able to come here and have comments, since the county commissioner just did. Next, with the expo, the other day that meeting y'all went to was completely illegal. It's a public body negotiating with another public body over public property, public assets, using public money. There's nothing confidential about that. Not to mention, when the city manager happened to be there, her presence made it a quorum with the SCCDA because they had 3 members there already. So now it made it 4. Well, which side is she on, the city or SCCDA? Because one is the city of Shawnee and the other one has Pot County interest in it too. So which one is it? So that meeting should have never happened. Not to mention, it said on the county's agenda, possible action. Well, there was only 3 city commissioners. Y'all can't take action. You didn't have a meeting. Neither did the SCCDA. Yet I heard such things as, and I quote, Spectre was off the table, and then it switched after a little bit of information came out. Amounts of 400, 700, 900,000, and over $1 million were talked about. And then it was a committee to oversee it and run by city employees. Let's see. Some of the other things were, start holding people's feet to the fire was really rich. My favorite was, well, I wouldn't say this in public, but. What wouldn't you say in public? What is it y'all could possibly talk about the expo, which is public property, that you couldn't say in front of anybody in this audience? So please explain that. And before anybody gets mad that I interrupted your meeting, remember, I knocked first, and I didn't level one threat in that room. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All righty, next up, hope I read this right, Todd Trammell. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
All righty.
Hi, I'm Todd Trammell. I'm with AE Funeral Services. You're going to be considering tonight the conditional use permit for to place a crematory in our building. We just want to thank the commission for considering this opportunity. We truly believe that this is a need for the community of Shawnee as well as the surrounding communities, as there's no other facility like that here. Currently, families are having to send their loved ones to Oklahoma City or surrounding areas for that type of service, even to the point of the county commissioners are working with Oklahoma City facilities to handle county cases and stuff of that nature. And so we truly believe this will be a benefit for the community, and that's our purpose for it. This is a ministry to us, and we want to minister to families. So thank you so much for your consideration tonight.
Thank you.
And with that proposal.
Thank you very much. Next up is Joe Davis. I think I saw her. There she is. How's Joe tonight?
Joe's here.
There you go.
I've lived in Shawnee for 45 years, or near Shawnee, and I'm really excited about the things that are happening here. It's really blossoming. I have a B&B on Shawnee Twin Lakes. It's legal. I think I'm the only one that has a legal one, according to what I've heard. It's in my home, and I hope you will consider the Lake Committee recommendation that people that are on site can have a separate cabin. Now I have to schedule my family visits. And I have grandchildren that are in their 20s, and someday I hope to have great-grandchildren, and I'd like to see them whenever they feel like coming to see me instead of just when we schedule their time off and when I don't have guests. And anyway. But if you do allow us to have a B&B in a separate building, it will increase the revenue to the city. I pay sales tax when I have a guest, and I think I paid like $674. And I did that all the time while I'm scheduling my family, because I block off many weekends and have turned down many guests because I just don't have the time to take care of my family and have them all in the same house. So hope you'll consider it. I think I could quadruple my revenue, which would quadruple it to the city. And it enables me to keep my property up. I'm a widow, and I could not maintain my property at the same level without doing the B&B. And the better maintained the houses are in Shawnee, the better off everybody is. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. All righty. One more. Darren Farrell, I think. Did I get that right? I'm sorry?
I didn't really have anything. I must have signed the wrong place.
You know, that was real easy then, wasn't it? All right.
I'm new to Shawnee, though,
That's-
and I love this city, love being here. Thank you all for the great job you're doing. So I'll take that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All righty. That was the last speaker we had on here that signed up. So we were up to consideration of the approval of the consent agenda, item 4. Was there anything anyone wanted to pull off of that? If not, is there anyone like to make a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have motion and a second for approval of item 4. We'll call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 5 is presentation by Animal Control. Present Pet of the Week. No pet, the chief is shaking his head. Okay. That gets us to item 6. So, do we have agendas, or do we need to take, okay, we could do, yeah. So what we can do then, by power of the chair, will move where's our executive session? Number 16. So then, can we go directly to that without, I guess we can go directly to that. Okay, so then we will move to item 16. So discussion, consideration, possible action to enter into executive session for discussion related to employment of Lowry Robert Holland in accordance with 25 OS 307B1, discussing the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of any individual salaried public officer or employee. So we need a motion in regard to that.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we go to executive
Thank you,
session.
sir.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. So, all right, you have a motion and a second to enter into executive session there. Item 16, we'll call the question. Motion passes 7-0, and we will go down the hallway. So we're ready, we'll go back into session. So item 17 is consider matters discussed in executive session for discussion related. Oops, I'm sorry. Oh, nope, we gotta have. Oh, wait, you just get done what you need to do. Are we good? Okay. Hi, thank you, I'm sorry. Item 17 is consider matters discussed in executive session for a discussion related to the employment of Lowry Robert Holland in accordance to 25 OS 307B1, discussing the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of any individual salaried public officer or employee. So we have a motion that comes out of executive session.
I would like to make a motion that we approve staff's recommendation on item 17.
Thank you, sir. So we have a motion.
I'll second.
Second. All righty.
What, Darren?
We have a, I'm sorry.
Darren has a question.
Item
Yes, sir.
16 or 17?
17 is 17 is the one.
But I think that, does the motion need to be regarding item 16 or 17?
17.
Okay,
17.
okay.
No, that's good. I'm glad you asked. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So we will call the question. Approval of item 17. And motion passes 7-0. I'll go back to where we left off. We will jump back to, I believe it's item 6. There we go. Sure enough, item 6, consideration of an amended contract with Mishek and Associates LLC for a right-of-way acquisition for MacArthur Street sidewalk project. And Mr. Bockheimer's up. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. How are you, Mr. Mayor?
Great.
Commissioners, so I'll try to be brief. I know you guys have read the memo, but so we have an existing contract for Mishek for right-of-way acquisition on MacArthur Street. That existing contract is for $49,000. We've had a couple of parcels that ended up being valued higher than we had originally anticipated. And with the involvement of state funds on the project, whenever there's a parcel that exceeds $10,000 in value, we're required to do an appraisal and then an appraisal review. And so there's just some additional procedural stuff that we're having to do. So Mishek came back and asked for an amendment of $12,300 to their contract to make their total contract amount $61,300. Staff does recommend approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Any questions?
If y'all didn't,
Our iPads are back
the
up.
packets are back.
Yeah,
working.
packets are back up. If anyone was wondering why we had the delay, is that we had some issues getting to the internet to be able to see the packets. So staff was kind enough to go print, which took a little time for, yeah, and we were gonna share those to try to keep things moving. Technology is wonderful when it works. So now it's back up, so very good. Any questions with Seth? Don't see any questions. All righty. Anyone have a motion? I think everybody's going through now that it's online. I didn't see it. It'll take a second, I'm sure.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve item 6.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Darren. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 6. We will call the question. And that passes 7-0. Item 7 is a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 16712 Magnino Road from A1 Rural Agricultural District to A1 Rural Agricultural District with a conditional use permit, CUP, for a guest cottage, case number CUP B01-22, applicant Laura Davis and James Hunter. Mr. Harkins, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. Ryan Harkins, Community Development. This is, as noted, a conditional use permit request. It is for property out at the Twin Lakes area. It is essentially to take an existing structure that is now a workshop and convert it into a accessory dwelling unit. Under the code, it does state that that's allowed, but it has to be done as a conditional use permit, hence the request that before you have tonight. Staff's noted its conditions for the approval in the staff report. These are consistent with code and are basically reiterating the code verbatim. We had no additional concerns or conditions that we felt needed to be enlisted in the approval of the conditional use permit. The Planning Commission, when they looked at this item on the March 2nd meeting, approved this item on a 4-0-1 vote. Staff's recommendation is concurrent to approve with the Planning Commission.
Thank you, sir. Anyone have questions? If not, then what we will do is go to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor? All right, not seeing any. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Not seeing any, we will close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Okay. How about a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve item 7 based on staff recommendations.
Thank you, sir. Have a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a motion and a second. Mr. City Attorney is up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, to wit, Lot 5, Johnston Tract, Lake Lot Lease, from zoning classification A1 Rural Agricultural District to A1 Rural Agricultural District with a conditional use permit and amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. Approval of item 7. Motion passes 7-0. Item 8 is a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 603 West Independence Street from C3 Highway Commercial District to C3 Highway Commercial District with conditional use permit, CUP, for a crematorium. Case number CUP 2-22, applicant Todd Trammell, AE Funeral Services, LLC. And Mr. Harkins, you're up again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, this conditional use permit request is for a crematorium. It is allowed under the auspices of the zoning ordinance, again, but only with a conditional use permit in the zoning district, which is listed in the staff report as C3. If you look at the code section that we cite, you'll note that it's permitted subject to acquiring that CUP, hence the request. Staff's conditions were pretty straightforward in our staff report with Planning Commission. I would note the Planning Commission recommended this item be approved to you on a vote of 5-0. The staff's recommendation is to approve as well. I know the applicant spoke to you earlier, so I believe he's still here if you have any questions. But staff is available to answer questions as well.
Okay. Anybody have any questions while staff, while we have him up here? Okay, very good. With that, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposition? Okay, not seeing any. We'll go see if there's anyone who'd like to speak in opposition. Very good. With that, we will close the public hearing. Any discussion up here? No? I don't know. How about a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Joe, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, to wit. Lot 2, Block 1, Shawnee Industrial Park Edition, from zoning classification C3 Highway Commercial District to C3 Highway Commercial District with a conditional use permit and amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 8. We'll call the question. And that passes 6 in favor and 1 abstention. Item 9, public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at East 45th Street and Sydney Drive from R1 Single Family Residential District to R3 Multifamily Residential District, case number RZ04-22. Applicant is Brenda Wyatt. Mr. Harkins, your turn again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. This is a rezoning request, as noted, from R1 to the R3 multifamily district. It is a vacant lot that is currently 1.8 acres roughly in size. It is next to some other development that has been proposed and is under, staff would say, construction. There are a number of improvements to adjacent development that have not been accepted yet, and there are no building permits for that adjacent development at this time. But the applicant is looking at doing a series of duplexes on the subject property, potentially. The land use map on the comprehensive plan notes that this is a medium density land use designation, which is compatible with the R3. When this went before the Planning Commission, they did recommend approval to you on a vote of 5-0. Staff's recommendation is concurrent with that. With that said, are there questions that staff can answer at this time?
I'll start. Is Sydney Drive an accepted city street?
It is not an accepted street at this time, and the reason being, and that's an excellent question, Commissioner Matthews, it's not accepted at this time, and it's not accepted because there are sections of where the road is laid out on the plat that are owned by other parties besides the developer. So the developer would need to get that purchased or some type of easement granted to allow them to dedicate the street to the city.
So the developer built a street across other people's land.
It would appear so.
And now wants to come back. I don't know that quantifying that as a vacant lot is fair. It's part of the plat that he's never constructed.
That's how they described it
Fair.
to staff. So hence, that's why we use that term.
Right.
But it definitely is a continued pattern of the development that's already been proposed. But in terms of Sydney Drive itself, that street, because of that issue, has not been accepted by the city because it can't be dedicated as a public street. And because of that, that's why you don't see building permits for those platted lots that connect to it.
Would it be possible to get the microphone turned up, please? Thank you.
Okay.
Not mine. And my ears are stopped up, and with the rain, I was having trouble hearing. You mentioned, you mentioned medium density, but they applied for R3 instead of R2. Have we seen, I don't see any plans or renderings to indicate that these would be duplexes instead of apartment complexes.
They have talked. Whoa.
I'm sorry.
No. I got very close. So they have talked at the staff level about looking at duplexes, and I believe their architect for the applicant is here and can go into more detail. They've talked duplexes or townhome combinations. So that could be a potentially triplex option or a duplex. I think they're looking at trying to keep market options open based on when they start to try and pull permits to maintain flexibility. I think that's part of the reason why they asked for the R3.
So a triplex is R3, a duplex is R2.
Traditionally gets split that way, yes. But the R3 starts to give you a little bit more flexibility between both types of development.
How many units are allowed on an R3 versus an R2 per plot?
That is not a number I'm going to try and speculate. I'd have to go see what they're proposing to give you an idea of how many we could try and squeeze in. And that might be a number their architect has with them, but again, I'm not sure of that.
So this was originally all R1 and it was already platted out? So they vacate the plat?
They have not filed any request to vacate the plat with staff that we've seen. So
So that'd be the first thing they'd have to do.
Or have a street.
Do what?
Or have a street.
or have a street, yes, that would be the other option. So if they can get the street issue worked out, they could finish the plat and ask for the street to be accepted as public right-of-way. That would open up options for pulling building permits.
Which are changing the lots also, correct?
This lot in particular, this area, they're asking for the rezoning change.
I mean, my phone's been blowing up since the agenda came out, because R2 or R3 does not fit the characteristics of that whole corridor. And it was not what we all approved in that process.
And that was one of the concerns raised at the Planning Commission. Sydney Drive was the issue that was talked about the most. The density and the traffic were others.
How many years are we estimating before that portion of 45th is finished?
That would be speculation on my part. I defer to the city engineer on that one.
So the only plans that we have or renderings, it's just this?
Are those that you see in the packet? Yes.
So this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings of apartment complexes or duplexes, but we don't know.
We don't have enough information.
We don't
We're
Correct.
giving them an open.
We're just
Yeah.
giving them an open book.
And when you look at the layout on that rendering, that tends to lean more toward a triplex or a duplex type scenario.
But I guess if they're engineers here, we can ask.
But once we rezone it, they're not bound to it.
That's my concern.
And I mean, when you look at the land use plan, I mean, it's medium density, but that includes Churchill Drive, which is all single family. It's just smaller single family lots. So I don't believe it conforms with the comprehensive plan.
If I were to try and read into their intent, it would appear that they were trying to take this lot and use it as a buffer toward the more R1, the traditional single-family detached, farther back in the development, and have this as a buffer off to that edge. But that's me trying to read into their intent.
Any other questions for Ryan while we've got him? Everybody good down there? All right, thank you, Ryan. So we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that's here to speak in favor of this proposition? Come on up, sir. Come right up to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Mike Mitcher. I'm the architect on the project. Would love to answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
I do happen to have a rendering here that shows maybe a little bit more, if you would like to look at it. This is the plan layouts. You're welcome to zoom in there. Comes some elevations, site. There's some plans there. The R3 gives us the ability to have some flexibility on that site. There was concern at the last meeting, is this going to be Section 8? What is this going to be? That is absolutely not the intent. The intent is to have some nice on that layout, we have, I believe, 4 units. There's 5 units and there's 4 per unit, I believe. The intent is a townhome type style, a 2-story. It is kind of a buffer. I think somebody brought that up a while ago to the residential that's being built further to the north. The intent of the developer is best use. What is the best use of that area, of that site? It's kind of a difficult site, so we're trying to find the best use. Somebody asked last time again, is this going to be Section 8? As the architect hired on to do this project, that was never the intent, and I am not designing in any way, shape, or form to that intent. Now, does the owner have the right, once it's zoned R3, to do something different? By law, yes, but that's not the intent, and I don't know how to prove that other than where we're at and what we're getting ready to submit to the city, because the city still has to approve the drawings and the concept and all the above. So there's still control, I guess, if you'd say, by the city and for them to have some say in that. But again, we looked at putting retail there. We looked at different options there. The developer owner, that's what he thought would be the best fit, and we talked about multiple things there. We feel like it's a good fit. Again, R3 gives you some flexibility. Is it multiple units in one? Sure. We just had a citizen ask a while ago about, well, are they going to be parking on the street? Not to my knowledge, unless the city allows it for some reason. This is drive, as you saw per the plans, driveways, garages, and the intent is to have as nice of aesthetics as possible.
Thank you for letting us look at that. Questions? We have the gentleman here.
Thank you for letting us look at that.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions?
It appears not, but thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the proposition? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Come on up, ma'am. How are you?
Just fine. Good evening. Hey, I'm concerned about the ability to change the what's planned right now. We were told duplexes, and it became triplexes. Now it's a quad. Is there any way to place restrictions on there so it's not going to be more than a quad? It can't be apartments. It can't be over 2-story. There's not going to be parking on the street. Coming from San Antonio up to Shawnee, which is nice. I like the smaller areas. But I am concerned with the parking, with your traffic patterns, with your street use, with lack of green space, those type of things. You've already got a lot of homes in there. He's planning on putting a lot of homes back behind, and you don't have a lot of green space in there. So putting 20 homes right down that street is really going to increase your density, street usage, that one street in and out, even though I think they are going through Churchill, or they were, from what I was told. And the fact that it's not set in stone. You say R3 right now, R3 could be apartments that could be 5 stories high. That's not his intent, but that might change. So unless y'all can put more restrictions on this, I would be very careful, I think, on what you do.
Just one second. I'm sure you probably want her name.
Yes, could I have your name, please? Liz Konecki.
Spell your last name.
Konecki.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Come forward, sir. How are you?
Good. My name is Alan Rogers, Rogers. Just reading through this, it doesn't really give me a good idea of where this plot is, where they're talking about. When I try to pull it up on MapQuest per public hearing, it doesn't give me any cross streets or references. As a citizen, I'm concerned that we're carte blanching somebody to name a street, put it wherever he feels like he wants to on that plot, and then build houses around it, first of all. Second of all, the intent of not having Section 8 in that area. My neighborhood, the intent was not to have Section 8 housing there. Across the street from my house is a Section 8 house now. So the intent as well as it may be stated, is not always what's going to happen. Increased neighborhood patrols would be needed in that area. I'm assuming it's on the other side of Harrison, on the east side of Shawnee. I'm not sure because it says east 45th, but it may be on the other side of the railroad tracks. I don't know. Without that information and the nice little pictures that he handed to you all with the updated stuff, as a citizen, I wouldn't allow that to be voted on until that was put in hard paper, so everybody that has an opinion on that can look at it and see it. Right now, the citizen participation is kind of blank because we don't really know what you guys are voting on. I don't think they really know what you're voting on. I don't think you guys really understand the whole side of what you're voting on. Like this young lady said, you know, you might be voting on an apartment building, but that's not his intent. But tomorrow, he may decide, well, that is now my intent, once we zone him this way.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to speak in opposition? Come on up, ma'am. How are you?
I like doing this.
That's okay. We won't bite, I promise.
My name's Mary Burden. It's Birden. Well, my concern is I came to the first meeting,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we talked to the architect, and he told us they were going to be townhomes. And, you know, but my concern is, and then we asked, okay, are they going to be owned or rented out? And he said rented out. He told us that, and that's one thing I do not want around my area, you know, right now. I just don't think that would be good. And I don't like, I mean, there's just a lot of townhomes in just one little small area, I think, and the traffic's already bad. So I'm not for it. So,
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Is there anyone else here that would like to speak in opposition? All righty. Not seeing anybody, then we will close the public hearing. Any other discussion up here?
I don't like moving away from R1 to R3.
Yeah. Benny, were you getting ready to say something?
Well, even back in the days when I was on the planning commission, and since I've been on the city commission, I don't like approving an open-ended zoning. And that's what this is. And everything should have been settled before it comes to the city commission.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with Commissioner Salter. You know, we have an existing plat. It was sold to us as R1. That's what it was going to be. And now they haven't even really started that. We come to find out we don't have a legal street. It just got a lot of issues to me is to change it again. Not to mention non-conforming with the comp plan doesn't really fit the personality of that corridor. And I'm certainly not ready to approve it.
Anybody else?
My issue is the R3 and kind of open-ended. I feel like it may have been premature to come to us without the renderings look really nice. And Shawnee desperately needs some more multifamily housing and some nice housing and some professional multifamily housing. So I really liked what I saw, but the public hasn't seen that. And R3 leaves it open-ended. I understand that doesn't necessarily mean they have bad intent. I don't believe that the architect has, or the owner necessarily has bad intent. We just kind of have to roll with what, after you buy something, things can change. So I'm uncomfortable with it as it stands.
Anybody else have anything to say? I mean, I personally would have liked to seen everything nailed down a whole lot more than they are when it comes to us.
And I agree with Commissioner Ingalls that I don't believe the intent is, but I would have liked to have seen some more completing of other promises already made for areas before we change them to do something else.
And I love our friends on planning, but I'm concerned it got through planning with this level of detail. Like, it's a concern to me.
Anybody else got anything?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to deny item 9.
I'll second.
So, yes, it's to deny.
Mark, do you need to read that if it's a motion to deny?
No, I do not.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to deny item 9, and we will call that question. So, motion to deny passes 7-0. So we're up to item 10, consideration of an ordinance, the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, amending portions of Chapter 16 Lakes, Article 2, Twin Lakes of the Shawnee Municipal Code, providing for severability, codification, and repealer, and declaring an emergency, deferred from March 7, 2022 City Commission meeting. And it looks like Mr. Vondran is up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Just as a brief recap, draft ordinance was brought before the Commission on February 22nd, 2022, which time it was deferred until the following meeting, March 7th, 2022, and a request for further deferral was made by City staff and approved by the Commission to tonight. The specific purpose of the last requested deferral was for a study with regard to the viability and potential overlap or conflict with the state statutes, particularly Title 74, Oklahoma statutes, Section 4200 and following. The city staff has completed that review and determined that the potential overlap or conflict is minimal, and that adoption of the particular state statutes with regard to water safety and age of operation of vessels or watercraft is the most appropriate way to ensure that both our application and our guests' ease of utilization of the resource going forward is the proper path, and they're therefore recommending approval of the draft ordinance that was submitted to you. Point out a couple of things. First and foremost, it is not a carte blanche acceptance of the state statute. There are Shawnee Twin Lakes specific provisions that are included there. There are also state provisions that are not adopted, which are enumerated within the ordinance. And then I would like to draw Commission's attention specifically to Section 16-229, additional restrictions. A relates to houseboats. B relates to parasailing. C currently reads, water skiing is prohibited on the waters of Twin Lakes number 2. A citizen who reviewed this brought it to staff's attention that left open under the adoption of the state statute other towables, tubes, surfboards, and the like. City staff reviewed that today and believes that is a viable concern. To address that, we are recommending that the Commission adopt an amendment to the ordinance as published in that particular section to amend by interlineation the term water skiing and replace it with wake as defined in Title 63 to be prohibited on the waters of Twin Lakes number 2. Wake as defined in Title 63 is creating any motion or movement outside of the norm that wouldn't be created with regard to wind and other just natural movements of the lake. We already have, as you'll see in D, a restriction as to personal watercraft for that reason. That's why water skiing has traditionally been banned on the waters of Lake 2. Right. And we believe that wake will be all encompassing not only to today's typical recreational items, but with regard to any future recreational items that we're not thinking of yet. As I know many of us probably would have been scratching our heads thinking about surfing on a lake 5 or 6 years ago. And so there was discussion for the Commission's information of trying to create an exhaustive list of wake producing or disruptive behaviors in line with the intent of the restrictions on Lake 2, but it was ultimately our belief that restricting wake is the most comprehensive and long-lasting solution to that issue. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got questions?
Currently, fishing vessels are allowed on this lake, and typically, fishermen, when they're trying to get from one hole to another, they don't waste time. So with this would greatly affect that movement as well, correct?
That is certainly a potential and something that we have weighed, and certainly something this commission must weigh. Generally speaking, the previous ordinances did not allow for that type of rapid movement, but I am aware that it occurred.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything
The
else?
alternative in that situation, Commissioner, would be the other option that we discussed, which would be to amend by interlineation to include, pursuant to state statute, water skiing, wakeboarding, surfing, and other inflatable towables.
But then tomorrow, they may come out with a new thing that we don't have a name for on this list, which would be, like wake surfing, like you said, wakeboarding or kneeboarding or
right,
whatever the other, yeah.
And kneeboarding, I didn't even list that one.
Yeah, so, there you go. So, okay.
Anybody done here?
I think towables would be a wording that would fit everything, because even surfing, you're starting with towed.
Or recreational wake inducing.
Yeah, so Commissioner, candidly, I thought of that, and there are some that start surfing by easing off the back of a deck rather than being pulled up with a tow rope. Again, we're getting very, very nuanced and deep in the weeds, but I know it's the intent of the Lake Advisory Committee and this commission to make sure that we modernized and left little room for error or interpretation.
I'm like Travis, though, that there's a lot of people fish that lake. It takes a long time to get from one end to the other under idle. I mean, or you're even in your duck boat or something at 15 miles an hour, you're leaving a wake, and that's kind of that's going to take all of that off the table, where our intent
Is to keep skiers
is to
off
keep
there.
skiers or watercraft or wakeboarders. How we define that, I mean, if we start with towables,
Or recreational, fishermen.
You guys know a lot more about that than I do.
I definitely don't think the Lake Advisory,
I like
they didn't
keeping
care
it
about
simple.
the fishermen. It was the,
I would suggest this as a list, that the following: water skiing, wakeboarding, surfing, kneeboarding, and other forms of towables are prohibited on the waters of Twin Lakes number 2. If someone comes up with something that defeats that, it can be addressed by this commission or a future commission as those issues arise.
Sound good? You guys happy with that? Thank you for that suggestion. Any other questions for Joe while we've got him?
So I saw a lot of head nodding. So that would be a motion to approve agenda item 10 with specific amendment by interlineation to section 16-229C, striking, or actually not striking, but adding after water skiing, wakeboarding, surfing, kneeboarding, and other towables are prohibited on the waters of Twin Lakes number 2.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, that was fast.
As long as we don't have to repeat it.
adding after water
So-
skiing.
Yes, following water skiing, wakeboarding, surfing, kneeboarding, and other towables are prohibited on the waters of Twin Lakes, number 2.
I did.
Motion second. Yeah, Darren and Mark. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, so I think we're up to you reading the ordinance, is that right?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
The whole thing.
An ordinance of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, creating and amending and repealing portions of Chapter 16 Lakes, Article 2 Twin Lakes of the Shawnee Municipal Code, providing for severability, codification, and repealer, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second for approval. We'll call the question. Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add an emergency clause.
Thank you, sir. And Darren. Okay, we have a motion and a second for the emergency clause. For approval, we'll call that question. Emergency clause passes 7-0. Item 11, consideration of a budget amendment for Fund 106 Hotel Motel Surcharge Fund to appropriate fund balance for payment on Potawatomi County Historical Society Agreement, 3rd year annual fee. And Jacob, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, as you stated, this budget amendment is to appropriate funds for the 3rd year annual fee on the agreement with Potawatomi County Historical Society. And in the memo details the 3rd annual fee is $30,000, which will be funded by fund balance, which should be sufficient. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Anybody got any questions? I think this is what, 3rd year into the 5-year deal that
Correct,
we had with
yeah.
them. Anybody got any questions at all? Don't see any. All pretty cut and dry, I think. Very good. Does anyone get a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, sir. So Mark, and anyone got a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 11. We'll call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 12, consider bids, Kid Space Park improvements project, so the opening.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So we received 6 bids for the Kid Space Park Improvement Project. Our first bidder was Rudy Construction with a base bid of $4,019,314. Alternate 1A, excuse me, alternate 1A, $5,000. Alternate 1B, $23,340. Alternate 2, $20,000. Alternate 3, $21,000, and alternate 4, $16,500. Second bid we received was from Bruce Johnson Construction with a base bid of $3,387,382.10. Alternate 1A, $4,500. Alternate 1B, $32,503. Alternate number 2, $19,000. Alternate number 3, $20,000, and alternate number 4, $4,500. Our third bid we received was Wynn Construction Company with a base bid of $4,506,306. Alternate 1A, $6,000. Alternate 1B, $25,674. Alternate 2 is $31,000, alternate 3, $30,000, and alternate 4, $24,000. Fourth bid was from Shiloh Enterprise. The base bid of $3,615,395. Alternate 1A, $3,200. Alternate 1B, $23,500. Alternate 2, $29,000. Alternate 3, $29,000. Alternate 4, $19,000. Our fifth bid was Lambert Construction with a base bid of $3,552,795. Alternate 1A, $3,177. Alternate B, $23,643,000. Alternate 2 was $27,909. Alternate 3, $26,938. Alternate 4, $11,825. The sixth bid we received was from Downing Construction with a base bid of $4,199,401. Alternate 1A, $500. Alternate 1B, $24,507. Alternate 2, $20,000. Alternate 3, $22,000. And alternate 4, $20,400. All that being said, staff would request that we defer to a future meeting to allow us to review all the bids that we received.
Very good. It's nice to see a bunch of bids. Anybody got any questions while we've got him, or anyone want to make the motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve staff's request.
Is that for the deferring to?
Yes, to
future
defer
meeting?
to future meeting.
Okay.
I'll second.
I think you're a little faster. So Travis and Darren. Okay, so motion is second or to defer to a future meeting. All right, we'll call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 13, acknowledge monthly sales tax and budget reports. You got good news, right?
Well, it's news. March, we had sales tax from March is lower than prior year, but above projections. So for the month of March, the past 10 years, we get our averages for our projections based on the last 10 years.
Right.
And this is historically our lowest month, so it's not out of the ordinary by any means. So our sales tax receipts for March, we are above projections by about 7%, but we are below prior year by about 7%. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for
So
the
this would
revenue.
actually be like January money then?
Yes, it's January and February estimates.
Right.
That is correct. On the expenditure side, the general fund, our largest fund, is within budget.
If I get any questions, do you want to hit Jacob with? Nope. All righty. Very good. Thank you, sir. Item 14, new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 15 is commissioner comments. I don't remember where we started last time. I'll pick on you this time. Oh, well, we'll go, Benny, we'll pick on you. How's that?
Well, I don't think I have anything to say.
Okay, well, that was quick and easy.
I want to tell Joe I appreciate the work he did on the lake regs.
Mhm.
I mean, it's been an uphill battle. You know, we're kind of at the finish line now. We can get some stuff up and kind of get ready for this season. So, and then Jacob, thanks for the report. You know, that downward trend, a little concerning, but we're one mind. You know, so we'll see what next month's bring. We had some cold weather and some other things in February, so nothing to be overly concerned about, but I'm sure we're watching. Darren?
Going in the middle, you always get what's left over.
Thank you.
Joe, thank you for the lake regs. We've been working on that. You've been, your staff, all the staff has been working on that for a long time, probably almost a year now, so glad we got it done finally, modernized, simplified, following the state of Oklahoma with our specifics. I think will be a good thing. Makes it easy for everybody. I did want to explain, when we went out of order earlier, which was perfectly legal for the chair to move to the executive session, we were having technical difficulties with our packets being able to open. So not knowing when it was going to come back on, staff went to print. And this is what a packet looks like when you can't open it online. That's how many pages
Just
there
go
are
one arm.
to them.
Yeah, that's a few trees there.
So they were trying to get those printed for us, not knowing when it was going to come back on, and as we came back in, it started working again. But thanks for trying to prevent it anyway.
You're up, sir.
Just tax revenues, you don't like to see them dip below last year's, but one of the things that the last 8 months, we were above for, 7 of those 8 months. So that's not a bad trend to be above for that long. And then, hopefully that will jump back up as this nicer weather and more people are able to get out and do more. Very excited to see the bids on the park being rebuilt. I hope we can get those soon and get that going, because that's a pretty used part of our city, and I know that a lot of families are looking forward to that being put back together and ready to go. Just as always, thank you, city staff, for working so hard, for rolling with the technical difficulties we're having, and instead of just throwing up their hands saying, I don't know what to do, they jumped into, action and started trying to figure out how to quickly and as efficiently get this meeting going, because we know how important it is to stay on schedule, and how, being intentional about not having to put things like this off, being able to get to it. So thank you for working so hard on that. Joe, yes, thank you for the attention to detail on these lake regs, and for doing your best to see all the things that are coming at you. I know there's a lot of stuff, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by some of those things, and I know that you're continuing to work really hard at making sure that you cover all of your bases for the best for everybody that gets to enjoy that lake. So thank you for that. Could not be more proud of the amazing young ladies that we got to celebrate tonight, both on the swim team and on the If I Were Mayor contest. That's pretty amazing. Love seeing that, and like I said, love getting to celebrate those amazing young people that will, hopefully some of them will be up here doing this one day. And so thank you for that.
Yeah, I wanted to echo Commissioner Flood's comments about the swim team and the young lady with the mayor essay contest coming in second place from 800. That's really impressive. And the swim team, you guys are so impressive, and I'm so glad that they all came out. I really appreciated all the citizens' participation today. Whether you're speaking for or against something, it really helps me to hear from you guys. And I know that it can be nerve-wracking to get up and speak, because that's how I started not that long ago, just talking about something that mattered to me, and now I'm up here, rambling on at the end of the commission meeting. So thank you for that and getting involved. And thank you for the people that volunteer their time to serve on the other commissions. The Lake Advisory Committee put in a lot of hours. I was a part of that since the beginning, and I know that Joe's spent a lot of hours going through all of the legal explanations and making sure that we get those things right. I appreciate all of that work that the committee did, and Joe. I'm really excited to see movement towards more quality of life improvements the park. I'm excited to see those bids coming in. We have several people interested in that. And then also, just a fun thing I would like to encourage everyone to go to if they can. The new Pot Fire basketball team was something I got to go to this weekend, and I thought that was a great addition for our community to have a very affordable family activity in town, improving the quality of our life here. And it was well done and really fun, so I was excited to get to be there for their opening night.
Thank you,
That's all
ma'am.
I've got.
Yeah, congrats to the swim team. That's anytime we can bring championship trophies back to town, that's amazing. And all the hard work that goes, particularly in the sports, and the hard work those ladies put in, that was incredible. It was good to see Mr. Allison back in the room, and don't know if he gave his daughter any tips on what it goes into being mayor, but his work closely with the mayors over his time, and congratulations to her. Great accomplishment. Joe and the Lake Advisory team on really getting these right. Those were good things to see. Again, movement on the park, as several have mentioned, is a great deal for quality of life. And the Potawatomi Fire was a really fun night. I'm helping with stats, so I think I was more stressed than fun, but it's a great activity. My family enjoyed it, and encourage you and yours to go out and see pro basketball here in our community. That was a great thing. Mr. Dowdy, I think engineering will certainly take a look at and can give us the reasons of why sidewalks are the way they are, and certainly your points are well taken. And Mr. Morris, just assure you, I've never heard anybody on this commission ever talk about limiting public comments. I believe that, I can't speak for the county, that's their deal. We have a statute that requires them, so, and there's no interest on my part, or I don't want to speak for me. I will say that if you want an issue you see on the agenda resolved by the time we get to commission, or an answer at the meeting, you can email any of us at any time, and we can work on that ahead of time. Otherwise, it may take us some time to be able to answer you. And as far as mediation, that mediation's ongoing. I'm a participant in it. We are forbidden by statute to make any type of comment on it. But I will say I'm confident in the legal advice we have received before, during, and after. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. You'll try being at the end, see what they're looking to talk about. Some of these, yeah, there you go. So, lots of good things tonight. I want to talk about the awards that we had, and if you'll remember back one meeting, we also had Best City in Oklahoma to own a female-owned business. And then tonight, our ladies swim team here in town is state champion, and we had a young lady that out of 800 entrants, she finished second in that If I Were Mayor contest. So I'm kind of surprised Commissioner Ingalls didn't, point out that our ladies here in town are kind of kicking butt and taking names. So
I didn't want to brag too much.
but I think it's just amazing, and I just love it. And Shawnee can go up against anybody, and we've proven that over and over. So we were so happy to celebrate them tonight, and then last meeting. It's nice to see progress on the lake. I think that's a very, very good approach of doing things. Simple, I think, is better. And Mr. Dowdy, thank you for your comments on the sidewalk. I noticed some of them along Kickapoo are that way also. And anyway, we'll look into that. So appreciate you calling that to our attention. I also want to mention the Potawatomi Fire basketball game. I was down there for the opening night, and that was a really, really well-attended, nice event, very professionally done, and tickets to get in there are not expensive. They're $10 or less for the cheapest seats, and there's not a bad seat in the house, even if you're way up there. I mean, it's still a very, very good seat. So I would expect that this is going to be a very, very good thing for our community. It's just right down the road, hopefully we're bringing lots of folks into town. They're eating in our restaurants, shopping in our shops, and everybody having a good time, and puts Shawnee in a very favorable light. It doesn't hurt. We've started out, is it 5-1 or 6-1 already? So, I mean, they're already very, very competitive in that league, and they've got some really good ball players down there, so lots of fun with that. And I apologize, for the delay tonight. I mean, it's just, technology sometimes kind of does its own thing. With that, we will adjourn and go into Airport Authority. So item 1 is consider approval of consent agenda. Was there anything anybody wanted to pull up for that? Anyone want to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
No, second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call that question. Motion passes 7-0. New business is item 2.
No new business.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned. We will go to Municipal Authority. Item 1 is consideration approval of consent agenda.
Move we approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Charles and Daniel. Motion and second for approval of item 1. Call the question. Motion passes 7-0. Item 2, new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight.